Welcome everyone to this early Wednesday morning webinar. We are going to be covering basic scheduling for everyone. We have got a great team with us this morning. I am Rachel Cox. I am on the support to training team, and today to talk about scheduling, I am joined by Amy Bemis and Jake Vanscoy. Amy, would you like to introduce yourself?
You bet. Good morning. As Rachel said, I'm Amy Bemis. I am the co-head of the Client Services Specialist team. So the people that come out and greet you and share JMC news with you. And I am also part of the support to training team.
Thanks, Amy.
Yep.
Jake?
Hey, good morning, folks. My name's Jake. I'm the head of training at JMC. Prior to joining JMC as a trainer, I have plenty of experience with JMC as far as JMC teacher goes, and some, standards and benchmarks type stuff and some office stuff. But really, the expert at scheduling here is Amy Bemis. So those of you who have met or had the chance to work with Amy, she buried the lead on that. She's been doing scheduling in JMC for quite a while now. So happy to be talking scheduling today, this morning, and all day. So those of you that are in kind of a high school situation, you can stay tuned for this afternoon session at 3:30. We're going through advanced scheduling for high schools. So a full day of scheduling. We're glad that you made it out this morning, this early, so we can cover this important topic that you're preparing for the 25-26 school year with.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, so we're starting with the basics this morning. Today we'll walk through the fundamental tasks that create the basic framework for building your school schedule. Whether you're an elementary school with minimal scheduling needs or a middle or high school with more complex scheduling needs, you'll utilize these basic scheduling tools for setting up your course offerings, assigning students to classes, and ensuring the scheduling process meets your school's needs. So like Jake said, we're going to kind of cover these basics here, and then you can join us this afternoon to get that second piece, those more complex scheduling tools that you need for building a high school or maybe a middle school schedule. You can hold your questions until the Q&A sessions at the end of each section in this webinar. You can go ahead and put them in that Q&A feature right in Ring Central, and we will address those questions throughout. We will start with building your scheduling framework. So we begin with verifying your school settings. Establish the foundation of your building's master schedule to create a smooth scheduling process before creating courses and utilizing JMC's powerful scheduling tools. Begin by defining the number of periods in your school day to establish the daily structure. Then determine the length of your scheduling cycle based on whether your school follows a traditional 8-period day or a block schedule. All right, so you want to head to File, Administrator Options in JMC Office to establish those school settings. So File and Administrator Options right up here. The first step is to select a number from the number of periods in a day drop-down list to define the number of periods in your schedule. Helpful tip. Elementary schools reporting AM and PM attendance might select 2 from the number of periods in a day drop-down list, while middle schools and high schools with rotating courses might choose 7 or 8 to account for all of the periods that make up a day. So right up here, however many periods you have in a day, and like we said, a lot of elementary schools will just choose 2 because they're taking that attendance in the AM and in the PM. Next, you want to select a number from the days in cycle drop-down list to define the number of days typical courses will meet. Another helpful tip here, in a traditional school schedule where all courses meet every day, you might select 5 days in the cycle to represent each day of the week. In a block schedule where courses rotate every other day, you might select 2 to represent those A or B days. Step 3, enter a letter or number in the day labels field to define the days your courses will meet, such as like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or that traditional A-B block schedule. And step 4, this is optional here, you can enter a name like study hall for those unscheduled periods. This will just, this is what will show up. Does that word there show up on student schedules then, Amy or Jake? Can you answer that for me?
Yeah, that would show up in that spot on a student schedule where it's, if they haven't been scheduled for a course, what do you want that to look like?
Awesome. Thank you. And step 5, select the appropriate radio button in the sort schedules by box to organize printed student schedules based on the predominant term type used in your master schedule. So if you want to sort it by semester, trimester, whatever it is that your school is using there. And then the last step is to click the update button, which is way down at the bottom of the page here, which we can show you in a live look. And that will save all those changes you made to set up those school settings. So we'll go ahead and do that now. We'll take a live look at verifying your school's settings. All right, so from our JMC homepage, we'll go to File, Administrator Options, and I feel like my screen might be zoomed out a little bit here. There we go. So File, Administrator Options, so the number of periods in a day. So depending on how many periods you offer, elementary schools may just choose 2, or if you've got, a 6, 5, 8 period day, whatever that is, you want to set that up so it best matches what your school offers. Your days in cycle, if you are traditional, 5 days a week, or if you have that block schedule, and then you want to label those days. One thing that I am going to mention here about the number of periods in a day, this is kind of a helpful tip here from the trainers. If you have one building and you have K through 12, say, even if you're only taking like AM and PM attendance in like K through 5, but you have 8 periods that you're taking attendance for in your middle school and high school, you would need to select the larger of the two. So you would still want to select 9 here if you had 9 periods in grade 6 through 12, even if you're in one building with K through 12. Hope that makes sense. And then after you've labeled your days and then labeled that unscheduled period text, you can sort your schedules by the term that you use in your school. And then here's that update button all the way down at the bottom of the screen. So I'm sure if you've been doing this for a while, this has been set up and you are good to go. But if you're new to scheduling, or if you're making any of those changes, like maybe you're moving to a 4-day school week, or maybe you're moving to a block schedule, this is where you would come in and make those changes. So that's about it for setting up school settings. And we can check in and see if anybody has any questions, or Amy and Jake, if there's anything else you want to add.
Amy,
Rachel,
if you have
Bob,
any...
sorry, I was gonna tell her Bob's question. Sorry.
Oh.
He just wondered, are the period settings for the district or by building?
Those are by building.
Yeah, so just kind of rolling back to that, if you want to pull that screen up again. Sorry.
Sure.
We got to establish a cadence with 3 people here. I'll take questions. Amy, you drop in first.
Okay.
With any advice that you have.
Okay.
So, because you're the scheduling guru here. So
that's a lot of pressure, Jake. A lot of pressure.
Oh, I understood. Pressure for Wednesday morning. What's a Wednesday pressure here? So yeah, that number of days in the cycle, I think kind of what Rachel was explaining there. If you have a K-12 building, so if you look at that switch building drop-down list, if you just pull that up, we only have one building on our demo site. So we house high schools and middle schools and elementaries. So we would go off of the highest number of periods. So our high school is on a 9-period day. So we would choose 9 from that drop-down list. If you have separate buildings, since these are building specific settings, if you have an elementary, you could get away with just choosing 2 periods in a day for an elementary. And the only thing that I wanted to point out along with this, if you go to 2 pages, this impacts. If you go to period attendance, data, edit attendance, those of you that are familiar with this screen here, these are those periods there. So you can mark attendance for every period that's listed on that admin options page there. And the other page that would be impacted is the edit course data page, which we're going to get into in just a moment. But we're talking about the number of periods available on the period drop-down list for a course. So if you just choose another course that has a section, Yeah, we can look here. So that period, that second drop-down list right there, if you want that to say 2, you can adjust that in the online settings. So
Great.
I don't any more questions.
Okay. Oh man, I'm pushing all kinds of buttons now this morning. All right. Okay, so I think we got through all the questions there. Now we'll move into editing teacher information. So we're still working on building that foundation. In JMC Office, seamlessly grant teachers access to JMC Teacher while keeping their data accurate across scheduling and grading reports. Quickly add new teachers or update existing staff details such as usernames, passwords, and email addresses to maintain accurate records amid staffing changes. With up-to-date teacher information, your team will have efficient access to essential JMC Teacher tools. So step 1 here, well, actually, first you want to head to attendance, staff, teachers. So you have attendance, staff, teachers. Then you want to enter a teacher's name in the find field to select an existing teacher or click the add teacher button to add a new teacher to your database. Helpful tip, need to permanently remove a teacher from your JMC database, simply enter their name in the find field and click remove teacher. And that will delete them from your records if they're no longer returning to your school. Step 2, place a check mark in the building access checkbox to grant access to the current JMC building or remove the check mark to revoke access to JMC teacher without permanently removing the teacher in case they might return at a later date. Step 3, place a check mark in the conferences checkbox to make that teacher available for conferences if your school is using the teacher conference scheduler. Step 4, enter the teacher's name in the display name field to display it on all JMC portals, schedules, progress reports, and report cards. Then you're going to want to add the appropriate information in the last name, former last name, first name fields to complete your teacher record. So you'll want to fill all of this out for that teacher. Step 6, enter the teacher's username in the designated field, which they will use to log into JMC Teacher. Then enter a password in the password field to set their JMC Teacher login credentials. And those teachers can go in and they can update that password as they want to after they log in. But you'll just first set a password for them so that they can get in, and then they can update those settings on their own. Step 7, enter the teacher's email address in the email field to enable report sending, messaging in JMC, and password recovery. Then you can set this sort priority. That's an optional step there. If you want, so that you can see that teacher numerically, you can kind of put them in the list where you would like them. Step 9, review and edit information in additional state-specific fields as needed, including the state-issued teacher ID numbers and staff classification identifiers. So you'll just want to check with your state how those teachers, how that information needs to be entered and what fields you need so that you can have accurate state reporting. Step 10, click the Change Photo button to upload a teacher's photo from your computer for easy identification. And then you can enter any notes, comments, or any information you'd like to track about the teacher in this notes box here. And then the last step, you can click this Update button to save your new teacher's record. Okay, I said it was the last step, but I lied. Step 13, you can click the print button at the top of the page to print or save a PDF of the current teacher's information, or you can export it to a CSV file. And helpful tip, if you need to reassign all classes taught by the current teacher to a different one, you can click this Transfer Sections button to initiate that transfer. Okay, so now we can take a live look at editing teacher information. Okay, so from our home screen, we'll head to attendance, staff, teachers, and then you go ahead and find the teacher whose information needs updating, or if you're adding a new teacher, you would just click this Add Teacher here. I will bring up my own teacher account. There it goes. Okay. So you want to make sure that your teacher has building access. This allows them to be able to log into JMC Teacher. Without that, they're not going to be able to get very far. And then the other thing that's important here is if you want teachers to be available for conferences, you'll want to make sure that this checkbox is checked as well. So you've got the teacher display name, last name. If the last name changes, you can have that former last name, username, password, email address, and so on. You'll want to have that file folder number. In Minnesota, you'll need that for MCCC reporting. So you'll just want to make this as complete as you can, and then you can upload a teacher photo here if you'd like to. So pretty basic. Again, if you've been doing this for a while, you probably have a handle on this, but this is where you can update that teacher information or add new teachers as needed. Anything, Amy or Jake, that you want to add about the adding or editing teacher information?
I was just going to mention that building access. I feel like that was the thing that sometimes we had to go back and check. You know, it's a good troubleshooting tip when a teacher says, I can't access what I need to. We would go in here and just make sure that that box was checked, because it's easy to miss that when you're setting up a new teacher. So just double checking the building access.
Yeah.
Bob asks, can the sort priority be set to 0 to leave someone out of a list? So I've never actually tried to set the sort priority at 0. However, there aren't many teacher lists that you would create. I believe you can print off report cards by teacher range or by advisor range. So, I mean, you could sort the priority to include that teacher later on in the list, and then exclude them when you choose your range. So, if you know your last teacher was 45, you could set the sort priority to 50, and then when you go to print report cards, you could just choose 1 to 45, for example. The other option would be to remove that building access checkbox, and that should exclude the teacher from anything. Otherwise, that advisor list page under staff, it's right below where you are here. If you were printing a list of your teacher, you'd choose the teachers one at a time there. So yeah, I'd be curious what the entering 0. I'm going to give that a try and see if that breaks us or what works out there.
Right. Yeah, that is interesting. I think I would have thought of it the way that you explained, Jake. So I'd kind of just push them down the list of ways. Okay. All right. If there aren't any other questions, then we'll keep on moving here. The next thing we will take a look at in terms of building that scheduling framework is assigning classroom names and numbers. Setting up the classrooms you intend to use for instruction is a snap in JMC Office. Enter the room name or number and provide capacity limit details, and you're on your way to effectively managing your spaces and avoiding the trouble of double booking a room. Pave the way for fully utilizing scheduling tools like constraints, the scheduling aid, and the room utilization report by editing classrooms in JMC Office. So log into JMC Office, head to attendance, staff, rooms to manage the classrooms you intend to use in each of your buildings. The first step, click the edit link next to an existing room to edit classroom details, or click the edit link next to a blank row to begin entering details for a new room. Step 2, enter the room name or number in the room field to associate a name or number with a room in your building. Then you can enter a number in the socially distanced capacity if you're using that to define the maximum capacity to a room set up for social distancing. Step 4, you can enter a number in the room student capacity field to define the maximum student capacity for the classroom. Fun fact, entering a room capacity will enable conflict alerts for courses that exceed capacity during the scheduling process to assist in building a manageable schedule. Step 5, click the update link to save the changes to the room list, or click the cancel link to discard those changes. And step 6, you can click the print button to print a list of rooms just for easy reference, or you can export it to a CSV file. All right, we'll take a look here at updating your classrooms. All right, so similar to where we were before, under attendance, staff, now we're going to come to rooms. And here you can see I've got a list of my rooms here. I will go ahead and edit this first one here. I could rename the room if I wanted to. I could use the room number. I could use a name. You can see we kind of have both going on here. If I have a social distance capacity, which, you know, that was big during COVID. I don't know that schools are using that a lot anymore. But this room capacity overall is kind of important. Like we were saying, if you have constraints, like if you're going to use that schedule builder, what that we'll be talking about this afternoon, this could be an important piece here to make sure that you aren't stuffing your classroom so full that students won't all fit. If you want to save those changes, you just click update here, or you can hit cancel to discard any of those changes. And if you want like an easy to read list of all of your rooms, you can go ahead and print that list. So this is pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Anything else that I'm missing on this page? Anything else we should talk about?
I think just the fact that once we have these in here, these are going to be the room options when we're editing our course data. So these are the things that come on the drop-down list when we're deciding where the classes are going to meet. So that's why we want to get this built up prior to doing our courses.
Mm-hmm.
And there are no questions, so I think you're good to move on.
All right. Okay, then we'll talk about assigning students to homeroom teachers or advisors. Advisors in JMC are teachers that are assigned to students to fulfill a variety of homeroom teacher roles, such as communicating with families, monitoring student grades, or organizing parent-teacher conferences. In JMC office, advisees can be assigned to teachers individually on the View Student Data page or in bulk by selecting the teacher and adding students to the selected teachers roster. So simplify that process of assigning advisees by doing it in bulk on the attendance staff assign advisee page. So I worked in an elementary school and I did our scheduling, and this is the way that I would go about it, kind of bulk adding those students to their classroom teacher. So the first thing you want to do is select the homeroom teacher from the advisors drop-down list to begin assigning advisees. Step 2 is optional. You can select a grade level from the grade drop-down list to narrow the range of available students. Fun fact, students that have not yet been assigned to an advisor are listed in the available students list, making it easy to identify the students that still need to be placed into a homeroom. Step 3, click a student's name in the available students list to add them as an advisee for the selected teacher. Helpful tip, accidentally add the wrong student, click the student's name in the advisees list to move them back to the available students list. So you got available students and then advisees. To assign an advisor or a second advisor to a student individually, so we just saw how we can do it in bulk. So to do it individually, you want to log into the JMC office and navigate to the View Student Data page. Step 1, enter a student's name in the Find field to select the student who needs an advisor or second advisor. Step 2, select a teacher from the Advisor 1 and or Advisor 2 drop-down list to assign a primary or secondary advisor to the student. Step 3, click the Save button to update the advisors assigned to the student. And helpful tip, can't find the advisor you're looking for, you'll want to head back to that attendance staff teachers page to add that teacher to the list of available advisors. So we can take a look here at assigning students to homeroom teachers or advisors. Okay, so first we'll look at how we can do that in bulk. So again, we're under attendance staff. This time we're coming to assign advisees. All right, so like I said, this is the process that I would do in my school. I would often limit by grade level. I'd work with one grade level at a time. So I'm going to come to grade 0 here. I'm going to select my advisor. I'm going to select myself. And you can see I already have this many students assigned to me as a teacher, but there's one more student who hasn't been assigned an advisor yet. I can go ahead and click on this student and then he gets added to my list. I can pick another grade level here so you can see. So our first grade students, looks like they have not been assigned to a first grade teacher yet. So this is the process that I would do, each fall or, leading up to the school year, I would go grade by grade, select the grade, select that grade's teacher, and then add the students to that teacher. So this is a great way for elementary schools to add the students to the classroom teacher in a much faster way than going into each student's record individually. So that is how we do it in bulk. And to assign a student to a homeroom teacher or an advisor individually, you just come to that view student data page. Again, you can limit by grade level if you want to, just to kind of limit the number of students that you're looking at. All right, so I've got a first grade student here. You can see Greg doesn't have an advisor yet, so I'm going to come in here. I'm going to assign him to Miss Bemis, and I could select a second advisor at this point too if I wanted to. And once that's assigned there, I can go ahead and click save. And now Greg has a classroom teacher, a homeroom teacher, or advisor, whatever it is that you call that person, that is now assigned to Greg. So anything else that we want to add about assigning advisors or homeroom teachers?
I can give you kind of the secondary standpoint. You did the elementary. So this page, the view student data page, adding advisors individually, that's what I used when a student would move in mid-year, for example. It was the easiest way as we're getting them set up to make sure that they have an advisor, just following that process as we entered their information. In terms of adding them in mass, we would do that. We had what was called seminar. So our high school groups met with an advisor and they were grade level. So this worked out perfectly. I would pull up the ninth graders, and then I knew that I had, 3 teachers that were my ninth grade advisors. So I could build those groups by going through this ninth grade list. It's great to be able to check that by seeing if you have any students remaining, because that seemed to happen as I would go through lists. I'd have somebody there and it would be like, oh yeah, I need to move, Parker over to somebody's seminar. So that would be a great way to check and make sure that I was getting everybody accounted for. So this assigning them in bulk is really slick for high school.
Yeah,
Thank you, Amy.
before we get at the questions here, the only thing that I would add to that is if you have, going back to the elementary, if you have a multi-section grade, so let's say your school, you have 3 first grade teachers, 3 second grade teachers, 3 third grade teachers, it's super easy to assign advisees to each of those teachers, because that really paves the way for bulk loading students into courses, which is the next step. We're going to talk about that here in just a little bit. Actually, it's not the next step. You'd have to create your courses first, and then you can bulk load students into those courses. But bulk loading by advisee makes that really easy. So Ashley asked, I noticed that the advisors from the 24-25 school year flood over to 25-26. Would we use the bulk load to remove them? Yeah, absolutely. So the easiest way to go about this, if you want to switch that grade 9 to grade 0, and then go back to Mrs. Cox. Perfect. So, yep, just click right down the list. Show her how quick it is. See how fast you can do it. Just keep clicking. Boom, boom.
My computer's moving a little slow, but it is a quick process.
I gather that. Yeah. So we just, yeah, you basically you're moving the students from one list to another. So you've got available students on the left, teacher advisees on the right. You can go ahead and click through and move those available students back to your advisor list. It just kind of a quick and easy way to toggle them back and forth.
Yeah, and kindergarten's kind of a good example of this too, because you're right, like it does transfer over to the next year, and you got to pull them off of their last year's teacher and put them on their this year's teacher. But like kindergarten, you'll often have a kiddo who will repeat here and there. You can just keep that kid in and pull the rest of them, off of that advisor's list.
Bob says, sorry to go backwards. Can you eliminate a room from a room list? We had some changes in the building. Absolutely. If we go to attendance, staff, rooms, and really this is simple. It's the same as how you would eliminate a course. So you choose the course number, yep, get rid of that 13. We don't want room 113 in there. And then click update. And as long as you see blank in there, yep, now it's gone. You can always rearrange your list if you so decide, but that's essentially how you do that. I believe that's all the questions we have.
All right. We got a lot of great questions this morning. Okay, so that kind of wraps up the building that scheduling foundation. So now, as Jake was alluding to, we are going to move into the next phase here, which is working with our courses. We'll start by reviewing our course data. JMC's course data list is a powerful tool for managing your course catalog, streamlining scheduling, and quickly reviewing course details. It provides everything from a simple course list with names and numbers to a detailed view that includes term, period, and enrollment information. You can display all courses or only those with enrolled students, allowing you to tailor the list to your needs. So reviewing courses, we recommend that you regularly review your course list to help identify unused courses, available course numbers, and duplicates. You can choose between a basic view, which is course names and numbers, or an expanded view with your sections, your terms, your teachers, and more. Your course data list is an essential tool for both building and reviewing schedules, providing essential details for effective course planning. You can use the following options to access key scheduling information. So we talked first about you have your basic course number and name, and then you have that expanded where you would get section information and things like that. But you can also click here on this course schedule info radio button, which will give you a list of courses displaying course names and numbers along with term, period, enrollment, days, teacher, and additional details. And then your course schedule constraints, this radio button here, is a list of course names and numbers that displays the possible terms and periods each course can be offered based on its established constraints. Continuing to work our way down here, the course data list provides a quick overview of grading schemes and teacher assignments, eliminating the need to open each course individually. Viewing all grading and teacher information at once helps pinpoint courses needing updates or revisions. So that course grading info radio button will display each course's weight or credits, the grading scheme, grading scale, and whether it counts toward the honor roll or appears on report cards. And then we have course teacher info, which lists the course's terms, periods, and assigned teachers. So a lot of information depending on what you're using this list for. And then JMC also offers several ways to export the information found on your course data list. Depending on what you need to view, you can export your course data via the following options. You can print a hard copy or PDF of the course data you're currently previewing, or you can create course export, which is a list of your school's course names and numbers, as well as course information like weight, term type, and state reporting details. You can create sections export, so a list of each course's sections, including term, period, teacher, room, and state reporting details. And then you can create a teacher sections export, which is a list of course sections along with their assigned teachers. So I guess in a nutshell, a lot of data on that report there, but we'll take a live look at how you can review that course data. So we'll come back here to our JMC homepage. We'll head to schedules, course, edit, course data list, one more step down. And here you'll see those radio buttons that I was talking about. So if you just need a simple view of your course names and numbers, I'm going to go ahead and click preview. Here are the internal course numbers, the course numbers, and then the names. And you'll see this is a pretty short list. That's because right now I have this checkbox checked. So I'm only seeing courses that have students enrolled. And since we're still working on our 25-26 schedule, we don't have a lot of students enrolled yet. So I'm going to uncheck this box here and hit preview again. And you'll see I now have a complete list of all the courses I offer, regardless of whether or not I have students enrolled. I think that you probably will get a little bit more information here. Well, I know that you will, but this particular list might be a little bit more useful to you. If I preview this, Now I can see my courses. I can see the term, my bell schedule, the teacher, a little bit more information that I can glean from this. So if I just need a simple list of what course numbers do I have, what available courses are still out there that if I need to create a new course, if I just need something really simple, that course number and name, or I can get a little bit more information here. Amy or Jake, do either of you want to talk about how you might use some of these other bullet points? Or I'm sorry, not bullet points, these other radio buttons? Or what you might use them for?
Well, I like you said, the course name and number and name. As I was creating courses, that was a great one to have just to see what numbers I had available, to look at how I had grouped my courses, some things like that. But then as you got farther down into the process, the scheduling information helped, looking at the constraints, just making sure that it's a great overview for making sure that you're consistent in how you're setting up your courses, making sure that you have your grading schemes the way you want them to be. There's just a lot of information for you to double check and make sure that you are proceeding in the way that you want to, and making sure that you know, don't have anything set up in a way that won't work with your schedule.
Yeah, and the only thing that I'll add, only thing, I'm going to go on a 10-minute rant here on course data. This is the most important scheduling tool, I think, in the toolbox. Here is the course data list. We show this right at the start of scheduling because most folks, most schools, I think, have their courses built, from one year to the next. If you're a brand new school to JMC, you might be starting this list from scratch. But at the start of the scheduling process, review what courses you have. And this is always a great time to clean up any courses. So that checkbox that says only include courses with students enrolled, I always start the scheduling process with that unchecked just to see the full list of courses in my database, to see if there are any courses I can get rid of, to see if there are any, if I need to add courses, where are the spots available on my list? Because this list is, it's a database. Your JMC is your database of all courses that you have available. And the way that database slots it out are in numerical lists. It helps arranging your courses in a meaningful way, whatever way is meaningful for you. We're going to talk about creating courses for elementary in an elementary situation. Here you can see we have each of our elementary courses grouped together, and then we have a gap that's to provide additional space to add courses for each grade level if we need to. Right now, we don't have many students scheduled into courses. So if I were to look at this with that only include courses with students enrolled checkbox checked, I wouldn't have anything that would show up, or not as many courses would show up on my list. So I would come back to this course data list after I've done some scheduling, and that's also going to help me troubleshoot. So here you see, we do have some high school courses scheduled because we were working with the scheduling aid earlier. But that course schedule info, go ahead and select that third radio button there and uncheck the only include courses with students enrolled checkbox.
Okay. I got a little ahead of myself. Sorry about that.
And what I use this radio button for most frequently is I work with schools a lot that might have some scheduling issues or some scheduling questions. So what I look for is consistency in course setup. And we're going to talk about this in a little bit when we get into creating courses and what you would need to do to create courses. But elementary courses typically would have those days down that column unchecked. So if you scroll down to the high school to show the difference, right here. Okay, so in a high school situation, in a middle school situation, we would use days met as a constraint. And we'll talk about those constraints here in just a little bit. But in an elementary situation where, every course meets every day, and we know this, we want to remove that constraint to avoid any scheduling issues that we might pop up too. So I might come to this page and review, do we have any days listed? I might be looking at the terms available there in that second column to make sure that we have one section for each term, a SEM 1 and a SEM 2, for example. If you have two SEM 2 sections for the same course, you might not be able to schedule students into that course. So you're trying to schedule students and the students aren't going. You're trying to figure out, why isn't this working? This page will give you a lot of detail regarding why the scheduling might not be working for your school. And I would say for the most part, it's because you have a day checked and it shouldn't be, or you have a duplicative section in there for you have the same semester term type listed twice. So I'm not seeing any questions. That was only like
I'm gonna back up just 1 second here to this course name and number, because this is kind of what we're moving into next, but I feel like it might be a little easier to see on this report. And this is what Jake was kind of alluding to, is how you want to set up those classes when it comes to elementary. I've got a kindergarten math, and then I've listed the teacher. So all of the courses that Mrs. Cox would teach for kindergarten, and then we have the next kindergarten teacher and so on. So when it comes to an elementary scheduling situation, you're going to want to group the grade together with that particular teacher. And then you'll think about this a little bit differently when it comes to like middle school and high school. And Amy was so kind to kind of set these courses up for us. So Amy, do you want to maybe touch a little bit on how you grouped courses together as you were creating courses for a middle school or high school situation?
Sure. Sorry, I had to switch my phone, lost some power there. So, yes, I went ahead and in the middle school, I put them, excuse me, by subject area. So you'll see I did 6, 7, 8 math. So just did them, in a logical way, because a lot of times in a middle school, you have the same teacher. Your middle school math teacher does 6th, 7th, and 8th grade math. So I sorted them or organized them that way. And then in high school, I also did them by subject areas, leaving plenty of room, because I know like we had our basic required English classes, but a lot of times our electives would change. So I wanted to leave plenty of space in there. So if we did add something, we could just go ahead and keep it together in the English department area. I just found over the years that it worked best to have them sorted and grouped by subject area.
Mm-hmm. So kind of sum that up, like when you're in middle school, high school, sorting by subject, and then in the elementary situation, you're sorting more by classroom, if you think about it that way. Okay, if there aren't any other questions. Oh, go ahead, Jake.
One more question. Sorry, yes. Bob's asking about the course schedule constraints radio button. And I think the easiest way to explain this, rather than getting into the course list, is to jump to the edit course data page.
Sure.
And we're going to go into much more depth with this with advanced scheduling. But essentially, you're going to see, go ahead and move to one of the high school courses, if you would, please. And a constraint is, if you're using the scheduling aid to do your scheduling for you, you have a number of reasons that students might not be able to take a course. For example, I should take that back. You have a number of reasons why a course might not be able to be offered during a specific time or under a specific condition. So constraints prevent the scheduling aid from pushing students into courses for a variety of reasons. So if you have a teacher that teaches English 1 that can only teach English 1 in periods 1 through 4, you can select the specific periods. You can do the same thing with days. You can set a constraint for the capacity of the course. So if only 20 students can fit in the room, or if the teacher is only willing to work with 20 students at a time, for example, or can only work with 20 students at a time based on the nature of the course, you can set up constraints for each course. And then on that course data list page, sorry to bounce you around here, but the course data list page, this course schedule constraints allows you to see all constraints for all courses at one time. So here you can see the possible periods. Just stay at the top if you would, please, so I can see the labels. You just going right across the top. You can see the terms that the course is available, the possible terms that the course can be taken, the possible periods, the days that the course is meeting, the room number, the teachers, and the capacity. So basically everything from that edit course data page constraints tab is going to show up on the course data list course schedule constraints radio button. And I think that does it for questions. So we're ready to move on to editing courses.
Awesome. All right. Like I said, we're ready to add courses. So adding or updating a course. In JMC, courses are the foundation of your schedule and provide teachers access to the gradebook and period attendance features. While some middle school and high school courses might require more advanced functionality, basic course setup for all elementary, middle school, and high school courses include a course name, term type, and other information to begin the scheduling process. So to add a new course or edit an existing course in JMC Office, you head to Schedules, Course, Edit Course Data, and you want to start by entering a course name or number in the Find field to select an existing course or enter an available course number to create a new course. A helpful tip here is in that Find field, you can enter the words available course to quickly identify unused course numbers in your database to create a new course. Or you can use that course data list that we were just looking at. Step 2, enter a name for the new course in the course name field to later identify your course. Helpful tip to simplify elementary course scheduling, include the grade level, subject, and teacher in the course name. So exactly what we were just looking at, the grade level, subject, teacher name. That's going to help you, especially when you start doing that bulk loading students and loading them into courses by advisor. Step 3, and this is an important one, you want to select the appropriate option from the term type drop-down list to set the expected duration of the course. So there's a lot of options here. The first one is yearly semester. So it's the most common option for courses that are designed to be taken for a full year, but separated into 2 semesters. Semester, courses that are designed to be taken for 1 semester during the year. Quarter, similarly, so a course that you're going to take for just 1 quarter, like a middle school or high school elective, so just 1 quarter over the course of the year. Trimesters, a course that's offered 1 trimester that are typically taken in any one of those 3 trimesters, like again, a middle school or high school elective. There is HEX. So 1 HEX course that is typically taken in any one of the 6 terms that bisect a trimester. For example, again, middle school or high school elective. Yearly trimester, this is the most common option for courses that are designed to be taken for a full year, separated into 3 trimesters. And then there's also summer, so courses that are offered outside of the school year in a summer school type situation. The most common choices for basic courses that meet year-round are yearly semester and yearly trimester. So the reason I said that that's really important is that's going to set you up for success throughout the rest of the year. You want to make sure that you pay attention to that term type and you enter that information accurately. The next step is to place a check mark in the report card checkbox to include the selected course in teacher grade books and on the end of term report cards. Step 5, utilize the appropriate optional tools to further define your course according to your school's needs. So some of those optional tools are weight, the number of credits the course is worth used in a GPA calculation and credit toward graduation, alternative course ID and name. The alternative identification is often used for dual credit or those college courses. Grad credit starts in grade, so you want to determine when courses start counting towards graduation credits, so typically around 9th grade, if that course should count in a GPA calculation, and then when does that cumulative GPA start? Again, typically, like I think a lot of schools actually do that maybe in 10th grade. And then include in teacher conference schedules. So you want to decide, is this particular course that you're setting up, do you want parents to be able to sign up to attend conferences if you're using that teacher conference scheduler? We've got the grade scale. So it's a drop-down list to specify whether the course will use regular, raised, or lowered scale for calculating GPAs. And then you've got block length. So the period duration for a course used in a modified block scheduling situation. And then determine if this course is going to be included in the honor roll, if the course is required, and then whether or not you want to flag students who repeat the course in a previous term. Step 6, you want to click the Save button to update your basic course information. So all of this information here toward the top is that basic information. Some of it you want to absolutely make sure you have. You have to have a course name. You have to have a term type, and then you can determine if these other elements are going to be necessary for your course. So for a lot of elementaries, probably not so much, but you would want to include that course in a teacher conference schedule situation. But for high schools or middle school, this becomes a little bit more important to pay attention to some of those optional fields. So we can take a live look here at adding or updating a course. And Jake or Amy, feel free to just jump in with anything that I might be missing here. But yeah, again, we'll start from the home page.
Sorry, I'm going to jump in just because we're kind of getting a little long here, and I know folks have to get to work. So we're going to go to the edit course data page, and I think Rachel did a great job of defining each of the elements up top here. So reference that list in the PDF of this video if you need to. The two things that I'll talk about the most here is that report card checkbox there. If you want teachers to be able to access the course via a gradebook, that report card checkbox needs to be checked. So Rachel's exactly right. For typical courses, you have a course name, term type, a weight, and then that's going to take care of most all of your courses and that report card checkbox. If you're in a high school situation, middle school situation, you might have to pay more attention to things like the grad credit and GPAs and honor roll checkboxes. Block length is going to be used very exclusively in a block scheduling situation, or actually in a modified block schedule. So if you have some courses that meet for 2 blocks and other courses that meet for 1. And then that grade scale, this is mostly in high school situations too, where you might have advanced courses that lean on an advanced grade scale. That's used in conjunction with the grading utilities edit grade values page. We have a raised and a lowered scale. Bob is asking, so the term weight is synonymous with credits. Essentially, yeah, that's how that works. So if you can go to one of our high school classes there in that find field, please. What we're saying here is our English 1, we have a weight of 2 and a term type yearly semester. What we're saying is a full year of this course, 2 semesters, is worth essentially 2 credits. So 1 semester of that course would be worth 1 credit. 1 quarter of the course would be worth 0.5 credits. So, yep, term weight is synonymous with credits. Not seeing any other questions here, so I think you're ready to move on to the next.
Awesome. And I'm thinking the next piece we're going to be talking about is setting up those grading schemes. That's correct. Okay, so this is the next piece that you would want to, choosing the right grading scheme for that course is the next thing that you're going to want to do once you've selected that term type and named the course. So whether you're creating a new course or updating an existing one, JMC makes it easy to select a grading scheme that aligns with your school's terms. Simply find or create the course, click the Grading Schemes tab, and choose the appropriate option to give teachers access to gradebook tools and ensure report cards include the required terms. So where we just were on that Schedules Course Edit Course Data page, then you'll want to find your course in that Find field. Step 2, so we just set everything up in our last step. We want to come down here and click on this Grading Schemes tab, and that'll give us a list here of the possible grading schemes. So step 3, this is optional. You can include an exam checkbox here to require an exam grade for the course if your school includes semester or trimester exams on report cards. Step 4, select the appropriate grading scheme from the available options to determine which end of term grades will appear on the grade report cards. And as you're looking at the grading schemes down here, you'll want to make sure that they align with what you've chosen as your term type up above. So courses with a grading scheme set to not set will not appear in teacher grade books or on course grade report cards. So you have to have that grading scheme set. Step 5, click the Save button to apply the grading scheme to the course or navigate away to discard any changes. So we'll quickly take a peek at the grading scheme as well. So where we just were, we'll just stick with this high school English class. So we have our term type set up, all the information up here. We're going to come to our grading schemes tab, and you can see that we have selected quarter sem, quarter sem. So that's going to match up with our yearly semester term type. We're going to be sending out quarterly report cards, and we'll have those semester grades as well. Anything, Amy or Jake, that you want to add about grading schemes?
Bob has a question. Our course grading scheme is not on the list quarter X Sem 1, quarter X Sem 2. Is it possible to add a scheme? So place a check mark in that exam required checkbox, and that's going to change the available grading scheme. So quarter exam Sem, quarter exam Sem is the grading scheme that you're looking for there. So just make sure that that exam required checkbox is checked. Yes, X is exam. The piece that I would reiterate here is for most elementaries, you don't have an end of term exam. So you can remove the check mark from that checkbox. If your school requires an end of the term exam and you want that included on the course grades report card, you place a check mark in that exam required checkbox, and that will become an available option. So basically, when you get to this grading schemes tab, ask yourself, how often are my teachers submitting an end of term course grade, and select it that way. So if they only send you a grade once every quarter, there are no semester grades, there are no exam grades, show what that would look like there. Quarter. The quarter year is if you had an end of year grade in addition to each of those quarter grades. So that's a little bit what the grading schemes are all about. See any more questions? Looks like we're good there.
Sounds good. We'll keep rolling.
Amy's in thunderstorm. She might be without power at this point.
Okay, we'll talk about adding sections to our courses next. So after general course data has been entered and saved on the edit course data page, use the sections tab to add important details to your courses. Create class sections, including the term, period, days in session, and teacher, to define how the course fits within your master schedule. Entering information on this tab will allow you to accurately build a master schedule, schedule students into appropriate course sections, and get on with the learning. So you'll head to Schedules, Course, Edit Course Data, where we've been doing all this work here. And the first step is to enter a course name or number in the Find field to find the course you want to work with. Click your Sections tab here at the bottom. And then you can start adding that section data. So if you want to add a new section, click this Add Section link, or if you want to edit a section that already exists, you would click the Edit link. A section represents a classroom of students. Adding a section allows you to assign them to a term, period, teacher, room number, and meeting for the days that that course meets. Step 4, select the specific term for the course section from the term drop-down list to indicate which term the section will meet. So all of the pieces here, you'll want to select a term, select the period that it's going to meet, and then this was that day piece that we talked about before. So in an elementary setting, you would uncheck all the days. Am I right, Jake? I hope I don't have that backwards. Or
Yep.
in a high school scheduling, you would keep them selected. All right, and a helpful tip here, if you're scheduling elementary classes, oh, there's the tip. I was anticipating that's what was coming up next. So to avoid those scheduling conflicts, you'll uncheck all of those days for elementary course. Step 7, select the teacher from your teacher drop-down list. Then you can select the room and then a bell schedule as well. Fun fact, the number of students enrolled in the schedule will appear at the end of the entry once the scheduling process has been complete. So once you start adding students into these sections, this first set of numbers you'll see is the number of students that are enrolled in that section. And then the second set of numbers here are the total number of students in the course. You can hover over the number to see a list of enrolled students or click the number to see a printable class list for the section. And that's a pretty helpful tool as well. Step 10, click the update link to save your changes or the cancel link to discard them. And a helpful tip, you can delete a section by just clicking this delete link here. We can take a live look at adding sections to our courses. So I'm going to take us back here to an elementary course. I thought that was course number 3. Let's see here. 4, I was off by 1. All right, so in an elementary course here, I've got kindergarten math. I'm going to take a look at my sections here. So this is a yearly semester class, so I want a section for Sem 1, a section for Sem 2. I'm going to click edit here. So I'm going to select period 1, and then the days. All of my days are unchecked. I have the teacher selected. I have the room, the bell schedule. And here's that piece. If I had students enrolled, if I hover over this, it tells me all the students who are enrolled in that particular section. We can take a look as well at a high school section, which is just a little bit different. We'll come back to our high school English course. And we can see here we have a few more sections, as it'll be offered at different semesters, and it can be offered at different periods in the day. So we've got our term type selected, the period that the class can be offered, the days, they're all checked in a high school situation, teacher, room, bell schedule. And here we do have some students enrolled, so you can see there's a list of all the names of the students who are enrolled, and if I click on it, I could get that as a printable list as well. So I have 12 students in this section out of 23 overall enrolled in English 1. Pretty straightforward. Anything I might be missing on setting up your sections for your courses?
Yeah, we just have a question, and I'm going to get to what I think is an anticipated question. Carla asks, do you have to put the period in before creating the schedule? So if you are using the scheduling aid, Carla, you would not put the period in at this time. You're going to allow JMC to find the optimal period that a course should be placed or a section should be placed. So you can leave that as wide open, and the only thing that would impact that would be the constraints tab. So if you want to bring it over, it's fine. You don't have to touch it, but we will find the optimal schedule when you run the scheduling aid. I'm assuming that's in a high school situation. Bob's asking, would you please explain the 2 numbers under enroll again? Absolutely, and that gets me to kind of a greater point. And the question that I always am asked often is elementary teacher or elementary schedulers often wonder, well, why do I create courses with the teacher's name as opposed to just adding multiple sections? So if you would, please go back to one of your kindergarten classes. So, the way that we recommend naming a course, kindergarten math Cox, for example, would be Mrs. Cox is teaching this math course. We know she's teaching this math course, and we only have 2 sections listed below. The question that I get often is, well, why wouldn't I just create a kindergarten math course and then below add a section for Cox and add a section for Johnson, my other teacher? Well, in just a moment, we're going to get to the bulk loading of students, which is by far the easiest way to load students into a schedule. And if we have two sections in an elementary situation, and we know that one of my teachers teaches all her kids in all of those sections, it becomes much easier to bulk load those students into a course rather than bulk loading them into a course that has multiple sections. So to get back to Bob's question, if you want to bounce back to 300, when we bulk loaded all of our ninth graders into English 1, which is what you would do in a high school situation, it took all 23 of those ninth graders, which is the number you see on the right-hand side, and it divided them equally amongst the sections. So we have a section for period 3 and a section for period 4. When we bulk loaded, it bulk loaded all students into that course, and then when we scheduled them into sections, it took 12 and it pushed them into third period, and it took 11 and it pushed them into fourth period, based on the other courses that were added for those students. So it looked for availability. It looked for where does this course best fit in the student schedule, and it divided them that way. So in a high school situation, it's actually preferable to add your sections to the course. And then if we have two teachers, for example, that teach English 1, we can add those two teachers to the section. So the number on the right-hand side that you're looking at is the number of students that's actually enrolled in the section versus the number of students that are registered for the course. So we have 23 students registered for the course, 12 students enrolled in either section, or 12 in one and 11 in the other. So just to reiterate, it's easiest on the elementary side to create courses that include your teacher's name so that we can easily identify them when we're bulk loading, and you're going to see that in just a little bit. And for high school, you can just name the course and add your teachers to sections. So yet another reason, if we were looking at that course data list, you see a chunk of kindergarten courses and then some space, and then another chunk of kindergarten courses that have the multiple teachers added there. So not seeing any other questions, and I think we can get to the next section here.
All right, thanks, Jake.
If I remember correctly, it is registering students for courses.
Yeah, 3 ways to schedule your students into courses. All right, so first,
I can jump in at any time. So
okay, I'll keep going here for a little bit. Scheduling students individually. So when you need detailed control over a student's schedule, add or edit courses and corresponding schedule details in JMC Office to build just what the student needs. The Edit Schedules page allows you to view all courses, sections, and periods available to a student, and to add or edit the student schedule accordingly. So to get started, we're going to head to Schedule, Student, Edit Schedules. So enter a student's name in the Find field. Select a helpful tip here is you can select a term from the display term, which I believe is just again over here to the right that you can't see right now, to filter which courses are currently viewable on the page. The next step, select a course from the course drop-down list to add a course to the student schedule. So you'll add the course here. Helpful tip, if you click the Add Course button, click the Select link from the pop-up to add the course to the student schedule, and click the OK button to confirm, or click the Close button to disregard the change. Step 3, then you select a class section from the section drop-down list if you want to move the student into a different class section. Helpful tip, select a locking option from the Lock drop-down list to ensure the student stays in the selected course section when utilizing the scheduling aid to balance class sizes. Step 4, click the Save button to save the changes you've made to the student's schedule while on this page. Step 5, click the Print button to print the selected student's schedule. Next, you can place a check mark in the checkbox to the right of the course name and click the Delete Course button if you need to remove a course from a student's schedule. Helpful tip, need to delete multiple courses, place a check mark in the checkboxes of multiple courses on the student's schedule to select the courses to be deleted. So it's super simple. You can just put check marks here or right up here to select all of the courses, and then you can delete them if you need to. Fun fact, if a red circle appears next to a course name, the student has taken that course in a previous term. You can click the circle to see when the student previously enrolled in the selected course. So we'll take a live look at scheduling a student. Or Jake, do you think we should go through all three ways and then live look the three of them, or would it be easier to do them separately? What do you think?
So I think the biggest thing to understand here, if you go back a few slides to the beginning of this section, keep going. Go back one more. So we're talking about three ways to schedule students into courses, and we've got the walk version, we've got the crawl version, the walk version, and the run version. So this is going to go in order from slowest to fastest. Okay, what Rachel just showed you was the slowest way to build student schedules. If you wanted to go through and schedule students individually, you could one at a time plug each student schedule in manually under the edit student schedules page. Go ahead and bounce to that next set. So that's what we just showed you. So go ahead and just scroll through. So that's the first scheduling students into a section. The second one, this is the walk version. It's a little bit faster. It's a lot faster actually than individually scheduling students. It's not quite as fast as the bulk loading and then registering students. So this scheduling multiple students into course sections, we'll show you how to do that, and then we'll show you all three in a live look. So I'll just take these next two. I should have just said like, hey, Rachel, I want to take this section, please. So the scheduling students by sections is a straightforward process for scheduling students into specific course sections, which can save you time and effort for users. And the one thing that I would reiterate with this is you have all of these scheduling tools at your disposal. It's up to you to choose the one that's going to save you the most time. So in some instances, it is perfectly appropriate to schedule individual students one at a time. And you might find this tool very handy when you know the students that are taking a course and you know which section you want them in. So rather than scheduling each student into multiple courses, like we would do with bulk loading, you can schedule several students at once using a single course section. So by clicking the student's name, administrators or front office professionals can quickly add them to their selected course section, streamlining the scheduling process. So we're going to go to schedules, develop schedule by section. Step one, we're going to choose the course that we're working with. Step two, we're going to choose the section. So here's where you're going to find the available sections and periods. Step three, we're going to select a grade level to narrow the grade range of students that are available. Step four, we'll click the name of each student from that available list to add students to their current students list. So you see two lists, one on the left, one on the right. It's very similar to how adding advisees in bulk works. You're just adding students to courses this way. So you place the two X's, or you click the line that a student's on. That'll place the X's next to a student name. It's going to move them into the current student sections. Go ahead and to the next. If you've accidentally added the wrong student, no problem. Simply click on that selected student's name from the available student list, and that will remove them from the current students list. And once you're finished, you click that save button. That will save your changes, and that just allowed you to build a section. So it's more clicks than what a bulk load would be, fewer clicks than what it would be to build a student schedule individually. You know, it's a pretty quick way, and if I just had to load one or two courses or course sections, I might do that this way. So yeah, let's move on to the bulk loading, and then we'll show all three at once. So the third method, this is the fast way. This is the run way, bulk loading students into courses and sections. So manually scheduling students one by one can be time consuming and tedious. With the bulk load courses feature in JMC Office, administrators can efficiently load entire grade levels, advisor groups, or random student sets into courses, significantly reducing the number of clicks and expediting the scheduling process. So this is done on the Schedules Develop Bulk Load Courses page. And coincidentally, this is why we have you set up your elementary courses all in one block. So select one or multiple courses from the Select Courses box to specify the list of courses that you'd like to load with students. So you can see in the image there, all of the kindergarten Cox courses are selected here. Helpful tip to select multiple courses at once. You'll hold that command or control key while clicking. That will allow you to highlight multiple courses at the same time. Then step 2, you will select the students from the corresponding radio button. So if you wanted to choose random students individually, you choose that by random button. The by grade is going to load all students in a grade level in those courses. And the by advisor, which is what we would recommend for elementary, is going to allow you to choose the students of Mrs. Cox to load into Mrs. Cox's courses. So if you're loading a high school, English 1, you might want to load by grade because all freshmen take English 1. Great, do it by grade. 9th grade, all go into English 1. And if you are in an elementary situation, you probably want to do the by advisor option.
This is where that step of assigning advisees to their advisors pays off.
Yeah, exactly. Step 3, click that load button to load the group of students into the selected course. Fun fact, upon loading the student, a message will appear indicating a number of records that have been adjusted to let you know that the bulk load has been successfully completed. And this is one of those steps that you want to avoid doing multiple times. So keep an eye on that number. Make sure that number changes. If you've hit the button, it's going to do its job. And if you have to see, oh, did those students actually load? You can go to that course data list to make sure that those students have loaded. So once you've loaded students into courses, you can then bulk schedule them into sections. So now that you've created those courses, loaded them with students, and manually scheduled students with special circumstances, it's time to schedule the remaining students into the appropriate sections for the registered courses. It's kind of up to you how you want to do this. I was a big fan of loading all of my courses at once and then scheduling into sections. If you wanted to load, say, your kindergarten and then schedule into sections to make sure that it's working properly, or make sure that you followed the steps properly, I should say, you can absolutely do that. You can do the schedule process as many times as you need to. It's just that bulk loading is what you want to avoid doing multiple times. So the schedule students feature streamlines the scheduling process and saves time by scheduling grade levels or all students at once. Simply select the time frame and group of students to place into sections, specify any necessary criteria, and let JMC take care of the rest. So this is on the Schedules Develop Schedule Students page. So Schedules Develop Schedule Students. Step 1, you'll select the radio button from the Students box to narrow the range of students when scheduling by grade or for selected students. Probably scheduling by grade here. And step 2, select the time frame. Unless you're in a special circumstance, you're probably going to schedule for the entire year at once. Helpful tip, since the Schedule Students feature can balance class loads across semesters, we recommend doing your master schedule for the entire year. I always run into some folks that are like, well, I don't know what my schedules are going to be for Sem 2. I'd say it's much easier to walk it back after you've created the schedule than it is to try to schedule in the middle of the year. But, if you're used to doing it twice, by all means, knock yourself out. Step 3, place a check mark in any of the check boxes to apply the criteria when bulk scheduling students into sections. I would say that first checkbox, the year course prefer same period all year, that's the checkbox that'll probably be used most frequently. The rest of those are special circumstances, and if you read the text on the screen, it's going to tell you exactly what those are going to do. For example, balance by genders is going to try to have the same number of boys and girls in a class. Require trimesters of the same course to be different terms. You know, that's a pretty special circumstance to be using a checkbox for. But if you know, like, hey, I really want to require 4 quarters of the same course to be back to back to back and be the same period with the same teacher. Like if you have a chemistry course, for example, that you're offering all 4 quarters, maybe you're offering it with 2 different teachers. You know, you can add some constraints that way. So you can skip through the rest of those bullets, I think. Step 4, click the process button to begin scheduling students into classes. Step 5, click the OK button in the pop-up to proceed with scheduling your students, or click the cancel button to return to the previous page. Fun fact, status messages will display below the process button as the scheduling tool is working to keep you informed of its progress. Step 6, click the OK button in the pop-up after the scheduling is complete to return to the schedule student screen. Step 7, click the print button to print the results of the scheduling process. Have you accidentally scheduled students into courses? No problem. Head to the drop courses page to remove students from all sections of a selected course. So let's take a live look at all of your scheduling options, starting with the slowpoke way. So we're going to go to schedules, schedules student, not schedules develop, got ahead of myself, edit schedules. So this is for scheduling students one at a time. So I could grab my first grade student, my Greg Appleby, I can choose my first grade course, first grade math, and then I'd have to choose the section too. So he's going to take it first semester and click save. I could do the same thing for first grade math, second semester, I wouldn't have to click save every time. I could fill out my courses and my sections, but you can see how many clicks that is and how much time that would take. So we're adding the student to the course, we're adding them to the section. We're doing that all from the edit schedules page. If I had to hand build one schedule for one student, I would come here and do it this way. It's especially helpful if you have a kid that moved in halfway through the year and you just wanted to build them a schedule quick. This is an easy way to do it. Rachel, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I was going to say the same thing. If you have a student coming in, easy way to schedule one student. I'm not sure that we get into this later in the presentation, but especially in an elementary situation, one helpful tool is you can even just copy a schedule from one student to another. So anyone in first grade is probably going to have the same schedule. So I could copy Greg's schedule from a first grader who was already enrolled if Greg was joining, partway through the year. So there's another option there on this in the quick links on this page.
So actually go ahead and delete those courses because we are going to bulk load eventually here. So there's the mass delete. That wipes the student schedule clean. Bob, I'm going to get to your bulk scheduling question here in just a second. So let's take a look at the schedules developed schedule by section page.
Nick, while you're getting there, I'm also just going to mention that I'm here. I had to get back on my, I'm switching devices, but I'm here. When I did high school schedules and someone would move in, I had worked with those courses so much that I could also just type in the course number. If I started typing like 300 for English, so I didn't have to scroll through that whole drop down of courses. If I started typing in a number, yep, just like that. And that made it a lot faster. Because scrolling down that list can be extra tedious, but yep. So that's just a little bit of a time saver.
Another nice reason to have that course data list printed in next to you or available. I know a great number of guidance counselors that have that list in a binder,
right,
usually next to their desk so they can see what courses.
And like I said, some of them you start to just memorize those numbers. You work with them so much.
So the walk version of this, schedule by section. Let's choose first grade. So I would say this is probably more likely used in a high school situation. But let's say I knew Teal's students off the top of my head. You can go in there and just click a student's name. So we've narrowed the course. We found the course that we're adding. We've found the section. So we're in SEM 1. There's 2 sections, SEM 1 and SEM 2. We've narrowed the range of students to our first graders. Go ahead and click students to add them to our current students list. And go ahead and click the save button to add those students. So that's one way of adding those students to a section. We would have to do that for both SEM 1 and SEM 2 to get them scheduled for the entire year. But then your scheduling is done. So go ahead and remove those students. That's the, yeah, revert to original button is kind of nice. If you made changes that you accidentally didn't want. I don't know if it'll actually remove students, remove
It did
all.
not. Oops.
So this is handy for, I think, like if I had to quickly add all students to one course in, like, oh, nobody got scheduled into government. I know my seniors need to take government. I can pull up my government course. I know it's offered in SEM 2. So I just pull up all my 12th graders and boom, click right down through the list and they're added. But the fast way to do this would be to bulk load. So we're going to go to schedules, develop bulk load courses. And I'll show you for the elementary. So we're going to select all of Friendly's kindergarten.
I'm going to go ahead and do Cox. I don't know that Friendly has been assigned advisees,
Oh, okay.
unless you would want me to do that one by grade level.
Oh, this is fine.
Okay.
So there we've selected, I just didn't want to do it twice if we already have students into those sections.
I removed them before we started.
Hey, there you go. Awesome. All right. So we have all of our kindergarten Cox courses selected. We can choose by advisor. Pull up Mrs. Cox. And now we're saying, and I always say this out loud when I'm doing scheduling, I'm going to take Mrs. Cox's students and I'm going to push them into each one of these courses. You click the load button and it lets you know 48 new records for 8 students and 6 courses. So now I'm going to show you how we would do this in the wild. Let's go to schedules course data list because I want to show you exactly what happened there. Let's go to course schedule info and remove that only, yep, and then click preview. And now we can see those first 4 courses have 8 students. Now, the number that you're seeing displayed here shows a 0/8. That's mean we bulk loaded them into the course, but we haven't scheduled them into sections yet. So we have SEM 1, SEM 2 available for all of those courses. So now let's schedule by section. So we're going to go to schedules, develop, not schedule by section, schedule students. So the bulk load is actually a 2-part process. No, you were right there.
Okay.
Schedules, develop, schedule students.
There we go.
Okay, and this gets to Bob's question. So do you use the checkbox on bulk scheduling, for example, year courses, same year period, all year? I typically would do that, but let's just choose those grade 0 students because we're scheduling those grade 0 students here. We're going to schedule them for the entire year.
Oh, sorry. I've got my tools for the webinar getting in the way of my menu. There we go. Got it.
Operating with stuff we can't see. So
Yep.
if you prefer the courses to be the same period all year, place a check mark in that checkbox. Since we don't have multiple periods for these courses, we just have one. You can check that, but it's not really going to do anything. So go ahead and hit the process. You sure you want to schedule students? Yes, we are. this is going to push those students into those courses there. So click OK, and let's go back to see if it worked. So we're going to go to Schedules, Course Data List. We're going to choose Course Schedule Info. And now I could leave that checked.
Yeah, for a smaller list.
You've pulled it up. This is fine. You can see for math, kindergarten, Cox, you've got 8 students out of 8. So 8 have been scheduled into sections. 8 have been registered for the course. So now that's our double check to make sure if those numbers match up in an elementary situation, your scheduling is complete. High school might be a little bit different. So let's schedule a high school course quick. Go back to my schedules, develop bulk load courses. Let's go to choose math 2, or I'm sorry, English 2. And then let's bulk load by grade level. We're going to take all of our sophomores and push them into.
Oops, that's good. Sorry.
Load. I'll show you a little bit how this works a little bit differently. So we have all 31 students into that one course. So let's go to our course data list. Choose the course schedule info, remove the checkbox. Scroll down to course 301. There. So there's our English 2. We have multiple sections of English 2. We have a SEM 1 and 2 SEM 2s. We've loaded those students into those courses. And actually, I think I scheduled this previously. But the thing that I wanted you to notice here is how it divided up the students. So if we would have went through the scheduling process, hit schedule, it would have divided those students evenly because we bulk loaded by grade level. So just a slight difference in how you do that in the high school as opposed to the elementary. But yeah, it's up to you to figure out what's going to make you, what's going to save you the most time there. So not seeing any other questions unless either of you have anything to add.
I don't think, just that, you know, there are different processes for different situations, and knowing what works best for what situation, that just comes with time, figuring that out. And even, you know, I know that people I've worked with have had questions about bulk loading when you have students that maybe are in a pull-out, you know, special education English class or something. It's a whole lot easier to bulk the whole grade and then move a couple of students to where they need to go. So I always give that advice to just, if the bigger number can be scheduled all together, do that, and then you can make your individual changes.
Great call.
Great advice. All right. We'll keep on moving then. Okay, so we're going to move on with some steps that you can take to finalize that schedule using some of our helpful reports. So start with creating a class list. Printed class lists are a valuable quick reference tool and a lifesaver when access to JMC Office or JMC Teacher isn't possible. You can use them for substitute teachers without JMC access, include photos for easy student identification, or store them in emergency bags for quick attendance at rally points. Even when the internet is down, JMC's printed class lists, complete with grades and comments, ensure you're going to be prepared for any situation. So to print those class lists, you go to Schedules, Course, Class List. Select a term type from the drop-down list here up at the top. Step 2, select the appropriate radio button to indicate which courses to include in that class list. You can sort by sequential course, by random course, or by teacher. Step 3, select a specific class period or all class periods from the period drop-down list. Step 4, you can place a check mark in the appropriate checkboxes to include additional details on the class list. So you can include grade verification, student photos if you want to, race or ethnicity details as well. Step 5, select the appropriate radio button from the order by box to sort that class list. So if you want to sort it by course name, by course number, period and course, or teacher, period, and course name. And then once you've selected that order, then you can go ahead and click the preview button to view the students on that list. And then if you want to print it out or export it to a CSV file. So we can take a quick look here at creating those class lists. So again, we're under schedules, course, and class list. So semesters, quarters, whatever you want to select here from your term type, and maybe you want for the whole year, maybe you just want Sem 1, whoever you want to include on this list. If you want to go by course, sequential by course, you can put in a range of course numbers by random course, or if you are indeed like printing out that list for a substitute, you could do by teacher, select the teacher whose lists you want to see there. These again are optional, whatever information you want to include on the list, and then how you want it sorted. So if you want to sort by course name, course number, or here I've got the teacher, period, and course name selected. I'm going to go ahead and preview, and I can see for this course, kindergarten, ELA, and here are all of my students. And then it's going to give me the next term. So because I chose yearly, I've got Sem 1, I've got Sem 2, so I've got each of those sections, and then going on to math and all of the courses then associated with Mrs. Cox. So pretty simple to use, but a great tool to share like with those substitutes or to have in those emergency binders or emergency bags. I know the elementary school that I was at, we would do those kinds of emergency drills, and we would get to our location and teachers could easily make sure that they've got everybody there. Any questions on class lists? I know it's kind of a quick walk through.
Nope, nothing's coming through.
All right. And we'll keep moving through some of these other helpful reports. View a list of advisors and their assigned students. The advisor list in JMC Office offers a quick organized view of students assigned to an advisor or homeroom teacher. You can customize it with details like locker numbers or bus routes, making it a versatile tool for any situation. So whether in the hallway, at the bus stop, or in class, the advisor list keeps key student information readily accessible. So to create that advisor list, you're going to go to Attendance, Staff, Advisor List. And we looked at this just a little bit at the beginning of this webinar. The first thing that you want to do is put a check mark in the checkbox next to one or more teachers to include them and their assigned advisees in your advisor list. Step 2, select student details like locker number, bus number. So just you can place a check mark in any of these fields here to add whatever details you want to this list. The student ID, grade, and gender fields are pre-selected by default, but can be removed from the report depending on what you're using it for. Step 3, click the preview button to view the list of the advisees assigned to each selected advisor, and then you can click that print button to print it or export it to a CSV. So a list like this might be really helpful for administrators, even at the beginning of the school year, with maybe those locker numbers or those bus numbers as kids are kind of learning that schedule, learning where they're supposed to be at the beginning of a school year. We can take a live look here at viewing that advisor list. So I'm going to come back to our home page here, and this one was under Attendance, Staff, Advisor List. So again, I can select that advisor, I can select one or more. These pieces are already selected for me, but maybe I want to include my locker number and my bus number, and I'm going to hit preview, and then this is going to give me a list of all of the students assigned to Mrs. Cox, including locker number if it was there, and then that bus number once those are entered as well. So super easy to find, but a great list with a lot of information that's helpful at a glance. I'll just kind of keep rocking my way through some of these reports, and if anyone's got a question, just feel free to interrupt me and we'll take a look at it. Okay. Otherwise, we're going to review the course enrollment using the course tally report. JMC's course tally report is an excellent tool for identifying potential scheduling issues before assigning students into sections. You can easily view courses for all terms, the total number of registered students, and the average number of students per section, helping you avoid overloading a particular section. Additionally, you can see a breakdown of student distribution by gender and grade level, allowing you to ensure an optimal balance of students in each section. So to view this report, you head to Schedules, Course Tally. The first thing is you'll want to select the by number or by name radio button from the sort course box to arrange those courses listed in the report. So do you want to sort it by course name, or so course number or course name? You can place a check mark in the split male-female checkbox to get that gender breakdown listed on your report. Step 3, click the preview button to preview your report. Fun fact, the report displays the course name and number, total students registered for the course, number of students registered in each grade level, number of sections, average enrollment per section, and the terms that the course is offered. It's all on one screen. A lot of information packed in here. And step 4, you can click the print button to print this report or export it to a CSV file. All right, so we'll take a quick look here at that course tally report. Okay, so we're coming to Schedules, Course Tally. So I'm going to keep mine sorted by, I think by course name, and then I'm going to preview. So this is going to put them in there alphabetically. Here's those kindergarten courses that we've been working with. I can see that I've got a total of 16 kiddos. Am I reading this right? This is, maybe I need Amy's expertise on this report. It's not one that I used all that often. But I've got my sections, I've got average number of students per sections, the terms that it's offered. And you can see here the difference in grade breakdown. So this is, oh, that's what I got here. 16 kindergartners, grade 0. My grades are listed across the top here.
Yep.
So Amy, do you want to
so
give a couple of details here?
Well, if you look at course 405, if you look at that PE course there, you can see that we have students of different age levels. It's kind of nice, at the secondary level, when you have classes that have mixed grades, you can see how many of each grade, that would be like in a choir class, a band class, you'd see things like that. Just showing the average number of students. So that tells me there are 4 sections of that PE course. It's just showing some different things there, the number of sections. So yeah, it just gives you an overview of how many are enrolled in each of those classes and how it's broken down.
I think the biggest thing that I would notice from this report is if I have, say, 42 average students per section, I would know that I need to create more sections because I don't want 42 kids in a class.
Right.
So yeah, I would take a look at that average, and if the number averages about what I would think it should be, and all of my students have been loaded in, then I know I'm good to go.
Mm-hmm. And I think that male-female split is something that might be used a little bit more in elementary classrooms, especially if you have like 2 kindergarten classes, 2 first grade, so on and so forth, to make sure that there's kind of an even split across all of the sections that you have. So now we have that male-female split here as well. So we can see we've got in this algebra class 14 female, 32 male. So a little heavy on the
It's a little lopsided there, yeah.
All right. Then we'll keep on trucking along here. Let's see what our next report is to help us finalize that schedule. That was it. That was the last report. I can say that we'll have some more tools for finalizing that schedule in our advanced webinar this afternoon, just because there are more things to consider when you have a more complex schedule like a high school schedule. So that's kind of a in-depth look at those basic scheduling features. So we're going to wrap up this morning's webinar here with some JMC news and upcoming events. If anyone has any additional questions, you can go ahead and put them in the chat, and we'll just make sure that we check that before we sign off this morning. But we have some. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, the only thing that I would add is if you are an elementary school, you might be done with the scheduling process as of now. Like everything that you have seen up to this point should get you through your completed schedule. This afternoon session, we're going to go through some of those advanced scheduling tools for high schools, including using the scheduling aid to help you optimize your schedule as far as when the periods are slated within your day. So if that isn't a thing that necessarily involves you, you're probably good with the scheduling process as of now.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Jake. All right, then we'll take a look at the upcoming webinar schedule. So like Jake said, this afternoon is our advanced scheduling for high school. So if you have, if you need to be entering constraints or prerequisites or any of those more advanced tools, we got you covered this afternoon. Next week, we're looking at the importance of state reporting support and kicking off April, reporting industry recognized credentials for Iowa schools and top features of JMC's freshly enhanced new family enrollment portal. Just released to you, streamlined enrollment. Your district office can now enjoy the latest time-saving enhancements to the new family enrollment portal. If you haven't taken a look, it is out there and it looks amazing. From automated application review alerts and record creation to new opportunities for personalization, there's a lot to explore. So you can join us on April 9th for that webinar. And did you know you can call, email, or video chat with a JMC data reporting expert to get free help to help you meet those state reporting deadlines and lock in your district funding. That's not the only benefit of timely data submission. So you can tune in on the 26th, so next week, for the 411 on the importance of sharing data with the state. And you can refer a friend and get a $1,000 scholarship. That's right. Now through March, for every school you refer to JMC that signs up for our software, we'll give you both a $1,000 scholarship for your district. To top it off, our team will throw a pizza party for you for your front office. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to sales@jmcinc.com. And on behalf of myself and Jake and Amy, thank you so much for joining our scheduling webinar today, and thanks for choosing JMC.